everybody, welcome back to the Library Mouse. This is Gina, and today I thought that I would share with you the books that I finished in January. I am very, very pleased to say that I did meet my January goal. My goal for this month was 5 books, and I had space in my reading journal for 6. Oh, my nose itches. I did have space for 6, but I did finish 5, which was my goal. So I thought that I would share those books and some thoughts on them without giving too much away. Here are the books that I did finish. They are in no particular order. I'll save that one for last, though. This book, it's called While I Was Gone by Sue Miller. Now, when you read the back, which is why I bought it, it was an Oprah's book club book. Fascinating, great integrity and power. Despite having a loving husband, 3 vivacious daughters, a beautiful home in rural Massachusetts, and satisfaction in her work, Jo Becker's mind is invaded by a persistent restlessness. Then an old roommate reappears to bring back Jo's memories of her early 20s. This is what got me. Her obsession with that period of her life, and with a crime that concluded it eventually estranged Jo from everything she holds dear, causing her to tell lie after lie as she is pulled closer to this man from her past into a horrible secret. I thought this would be more page-turning than it is. It took a very, very, very long time to get to the essence of the story. There is a lot of backstory, which is needed, but I didn't feel that it was quietly gripping. I didn't feel like it was frightening. Many readers will find it difficult to forget. It was okay. This was almost a did not finish book. I put it down and I lost interest. So basically the mother, Jo, that they're talking about, has an old roommate come back into her life. He moves into town unbeknownst to her, and he brings his dog to her. She's a vet, and they start talking about the past and what happened in the past when a crime occurred, and some things are then told about the crime that she learns. I was not that intrigued with this book. It was okay. I didn't love the characters in the book, and usually for me, I really feel like I need to connect with at least one of the characters and be rooting for them, and I didn't feel like that in this book. I didn't feel like I was rooting for anybody, and I didn't feel connected to anybody. So with that said, this is the book. She wrote The Good Mother, if you've read that, but this one I wasn't that thrilled with. Another book, I generally like Jodie Picoult. This is Lone Wolf. Basically, it is told from the viewpoints of an entire family. It is Kara, her brother Edward, her father Luke, her mother Georgie, and her stepfather Joe. And it basically revolves around the issue of what is quality of life? When should you turn off life supports? Who gets to make that decision? And how do family dynamics play a role in that decision? That part of the book was interesting. However, there were some parts, so much information about wolves and wolf behavior, even though I know there was a connection between wolf behavior and her father, who ran a wolf sanctuary. There was a lot of skimming done at that point. I did like the way it was written. It was well written. It did keep me turning the page. I wanted to find out what happened next, as with all of Jodie Picoult's book. And the ending was good. I didn't love this book. I probably would not read this book again. And some Jodie Picoult books I would read again, but not this one. Blast from my past. I don't know how many of you ever go back and reread your favorites from childhood, but I recently joined a book club. It is run by Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura on Little House on the Prairie. And if you grew up in the 70s, which is when I grew up, when they first said they were going to put Little House on the Prairie, which was my favorite series of books when I was in 3rd, 4th grade, I was ecstatic to see they were going to do a show about Little House on the Prairie. I did love this book as a child. It's interesting to go back and read it now. I've read it as a teacher to my class, and I just want to say that students in this generation did not find this book as interesting as I found it. I really don't think it moves quick enough. It is loaded with description and not very much dialogue. But the life that's portrayed, the simplicity of pioneer life along with the hardship of it, is still really interesting to me. It is a product of the time, however, and you have to keep that into consideration about when it was written. But it was fun to go back and read it and look at it with an adult perspective. This was never one of my favorite either of the series. It's the first one, but it's not my favorite. I always loved On the Banks of Plum Creek. So if you are a little Laura Ingalls Wilder fan, it would be fun. Go back and reread some of her books. And I'm wondering how many of you have actually gone back to reread your childhood favorites. I loved All the Kind Family series. I loved the Little Orphalines. I loved books that had to do with adopting children from other countries. I read those kind of books a lot as a teenager. But as far as like childhood books, these were one of my favorites, along with Louisa May Alcott books. So here's me telling you, go find a favorite of childhood and reread it again, and then think, do you still love it as much as you did when you were a kid? Then I read this. This is by Laura Moriarty. She's the author of The Center of Everything. Basically, what happens in this book, I won't give too much away, but it's pretty much examining the mother-daughter relationship. In this case, Lee and her teenage daughter do not get along really well. There's a lot of friction right now in their relationship. The daughter seems to have a deeper connection with the father, and while this is all going on, the daughter winds up hitting a classmate and killing them. And the whole book is how the family navigates that, especially with the mother already not having a great relationship with her daughter, how they handle this situation and how they handle the relationship along with the father, who is the daughter's favorite. He's the one that she can talk to. I thought that I would be more invested in the mother's character. I really did. Having 4 children, I thought that I would feel that connection with her. This book was difficult in that I really didn't feel a connection with the mom or anybody. It was okay. It was okay. I thought it was slow. I thought it dragged on in some parts, but I probably would not read this again. If you're interested in that kind of story, though, I mean, you might enjoy it. I didn't love it. I finished it, but I didn't put the book down and like sigh in satisfaction. I was like, oh, okay. Finally, my favorite. This was, for me, my favorite book. I love Torey Hayden as a writer. I loved almost all of her books because I'm a teacher. And I was a special ed teacher, and all of her books focus on her life as a special ed teacher and the students that she has taught. This is no exception. She lives in Wales, and she is working with this little girl as a volunteer therapist. She's in basically a school for children with behavior issues. She has a lot of anger. Her family doesn't want her. She has a history of arson, lying, and anger, and her parents just don't want her back. And it's Torey Hayden's job to kind of get at what is the crux of the issue. What is causing so much anger in this child? It was very good. It was very good. I love the characters. I felt so sorry for the little girl in the story. The ending is satisfying. And it's a book that, it's just an easy read. It's an easy read, and in the way that she writes, she gives you just enough that you want to keep going. You really, really, really want the best for the children that she writes about. And you really want to see them, pull ahead in life. And this one was no exception. So this is Lost Child by Torey Hayden. So those were my 5 books for January. In the next video, I will take a look at what I'm reading in February. And I have a question on my community page about magical realism. It's one of the categories from the 52 Book Club. I never, ever, ever read magical realism. So if you have a suggestion, there's already some there. I'm going to take a look at all the suggestions. I will share what people are suggesting, and I will see which book or books I would be able to get my hands on to read this month. So that's what you can be looking forward to. Thanks for stopping in. This is Gina at the Library Mouse, and I will see you soon.